Hey, Herman, Letitia, you guys have been like a second family to me, and I just want to say thank you from the start of this. Thank you for everything you did, not only for Danny, but for me also. You know, I grew very close with you guys as my friendship with Danny grew, and he became more than just a friend. He became my brother. And those are probably the best years of my life, was when we were best friends. And you know, life happens and things happen, and we kind of went separate ways, but just because we got busy. But honestly, he'll always be my brother, and you guys will always be my family. And thank you for your faithfulness to God, to this church, because you guys are the reason that Danny made it. You guys are the reason that Danny loves God and that he's with God right now. And I just want to say thank you guys, and I love you guys. And they asked me to tell a little bit about Danny, about maybe a story. There's so many. I mean, we lived with each other, but more than the story, I just want to tell you what I thought about Danny as a friend, as my best friend. That, you know, you heard what everybody said, that he always cared about people and he loved people, and you really did get that from you guys. And I saw that day in and day out living with him, that he would always go out of his way to help anybody that needed help, anybody that he saw in need, whether it be salvation or whatever, help moving. Like, he was always there. He had such a big heart. And I know that's why everybody loved him. It's just because he was always open. His heart was wide open to anybody. And you guys put that in him. And I just want to say thank you for that as well. That's pretty much all I got. I just wanted to say thank you guys, and I love you guys. And we're going to see him again one day.
So I think probably I have a million stories, man. I mean, I can tell you about the time that Danny stayed the night at our house when he was working in Clifton. And when he left the next day, he had his dirty underwear and socks under the kitchen chair. And my wife was like, I already got someone to pick up after. But I think probably one of the funniest times, the earliest times I remember, is when Stephen and him were coming to the Bible study, and I had to go pick him up and drop him off. And it snowed. I think it was either January or February in 2007. It had to be 07 because my wife had our son in August of 07. So it had to be in like January, February time. We had picked them up, and we stopped in Rita Ranch because we were going back from the Bible study. We were going to drop them off. And Danny said, pull over. Steven's never seen snow before. And Steve was like, I've never seen snow. And Steve was freaking out. And I'm not thinking that Big Bear is in LA where Steven's from. He's probably seen snow all the time. You know what I mean? So he's like, I've never seen it. They get off the car and they're like rolling around in it, making snow angels. I'm on the side of the road. It's like 9 o'clock at night. And then they run off. And I'm just like, so I'm sitting in the car and I'm looking at them, and they're having a blast, but they run off. And Priscilla's like, we should probably go see where they went. It's dark. So I get off the car and I go see where they went, and these guys just ambushed me. I mean, I was calling their name and I look to the right and there's a snowball hits me right in the face, dude, and I just got pelted. That wasn't the first time. I was ready to kill Danny and Steven. I was telling them to stand in front of my car while I took off. But I mean, I can tell you about the time that he shows up at my house blaring his music at like 10 o'clock at night. We had just moved into a new neighborhood, and he's skidding his tires in the front. He's like burning out, and my neighbor's lights are coming on. Dogs are barking in the neighborhood, dude. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Who is this kid? Every time I was so eager to get rid of him after he'd been at my house for like 2 or 3 hours. Like, get this dude out of here. He just goes to he would open a water bottle and leave it in the kitchen, and then go make coffee and only take a few sips, open up a soda and leave it. And he was too much too. But I remember probably my best memory of Danny are, you know, when he was living with his mom and dad. He was still in high school. He was going, and he would always tell me, he goes, hey man, I'm doing a Bible study at the high school. Can you give me some tips on what to talk about? Or can you can you help me with this? Or what should I do in this situation? And I just saw like his trajectory, man, it looked so good, man. And when we left and came back to see that he was still rooted and grounded in the church, man, was awesome. And I know Danny's had his times, man, and you know, but to Herman and Letty, I just say thank you very much, you know, for raising a fantastic kid who, and thank you for opening your home to us, you know, myself and my wife and Vision Unlimited. Danny was always wanting to do stuff at your guys' house because you had the pool, and I was like, well, I don't know if it's a good thing for 16-year-old boys and 16-year-old girls to be in swimsuits with each other with no parental guidance around. So I was like, you know, but you know, he always had a good heart. His heart was in the right place, and you know, it's gonna be, it hurts, you know, to not have Danny around, man. And I've been thinking, like I said, for the last 2 weeks, just how could this happen? Why did this happen right now? Like, he had so much potential. He looked like he was about to just really just step into some things, man. And you know, the other night I was thinking about when God just met with him while I was talking about the testimony today in church on a Sunday morning, and I just began to weep in my house, man. And just remembering, like, I could feel that weight lifted off of him, and I knew right there God had met him, and I knew that God loves us, obviously, and he's got a plan for us. I know that, but his parents, Herman and Letty, you guys did such a good job with Danny, and you know, his life, as rocky as it was, really speaks to that, you know, and you guys, by your faithfulness to God, really have secured his destiny. And so I just want to say, love you guys. We're here for you. And Joe and the sisters, I'm sorry I don't know all your names, but just to say, you know, Priscilla and I, we love you guys and appreciate and count it a privilege to have had Danny as a friend and a brother, and in some cases even a son. As much as he ate, I think he ate more at our house. Our grocery bill was bigger for him than for ourselves at one point, but he's going to be missed, definitely going to be missed. And just want to say we love you, and we're definitely going to be praying for you guys.
My name is John Greer. I met Danny a long time ago. Don't remember exactly how or when, but it just seemed like we were always really close friends, always in contact when he was in Morenci, when he went to training. You know, I remember in particular, there was one Saturday night after a music scene. I'm talking with Danny about girl problems, like he always managed to squeeze in there. And my wife and I are talking to him, and he says, you know, I'm dealing with this, I'm talking to this girl, and I'm not really sure what's going on. And I think he was also dealing with some stuff with Brianna, and you know, he's going on and on. But he didn't know that I had just that day found out that my son was diagnosed with autism. And so I'm like going through a lot of emotions at the same time, and he's talking about these issues, and he says, you know, I'm really struggling, man, just pray for me. And I looked at him and I said, Danny, dude, I love you, but I'm not gonna pray for you. Your problems are very you know, minuscule compared to a lot of other things. And I just remember my wife being like, shut up, John. But that was the kind of relationship that I felt that I had with Danny. I always made it a point to take shots at him, and I kind of felt like I was taking that older brother role with him. And one thing that I really enjoyed about Danny is it didn't bother him. I mean, he was so confident, and he was so just happy with and content with who he was and everything that he was doing. For example, I would make fun of his hair a lot, and I mean, he would laugh at it, but he would have the same exact, like, he never thought about changing his hair. He loved his hair, and that's one thing I'm really gonna miss is that kind of confidence that came from him. And I really loved Danny. Genuinely loved spending time with him. He was one of my favorite people in this church, and I'm gonna totally miss him. And I really feel for your guys, and I hope that somehow God helps you get through this. And our family is here for you if you need anything. We love you.
I got saved March 30th of 2009, and at that time I was introduced to Danny by Earl, and just like that, you know, not really having any friends, new to the church, it was Danny and Earl that really just adopted me in. And at that time, my schedule at work, I'd come out, I believe, around close to 10 o'clock at night, and one of the first persons that I'd call was Danny. And no matter what time it was at night, Danny would always invite me over to read the Bible. He's like, you know, it'd be like 10:30. I'm driving home, I'm tired, and I call him. He's like, hey dude, you want to read the Bible? And I'm like, dude, it's like 10:30. He's like, don't matter, just come over, read the Bible. You know, and I think I can point back to that, and that's one of the moments in my walk with God where, you know, I'm so grateful for just someone like that, you know, he didn't know me from Adam, but he had really adopted me as his friend. He was there from the beginning. You know, he came out of my wedding. You know, he was Danny. He was he was crazy. I remember I was living with my aunt at the time, and when my uncle would get drunk, he knew I was going to church. He wouldn't allow me to go back to the house, so I was kind of locked out. Every day I'd go to work, I'd carry a backpack with me with like extra clothes and toiletries and stuff. And Chief and Letty and Danny, you know, they'd always let me stay over. I remember one day I hadn't told Danny that I had, you know, had gotten kicked out of my uncle's house, so I decided, you know, he let me sleep over, so I decided in my mind that, you know, I was gonna stay in and sleep late, you know, and not really tell him about it. So I guess Letty wakes up in the morning, opens up the door to the room, and she sees me sleeping, and she kind of like freaks out. So she calls Danny, and Danny calls me. He's like, dude, what the heck are you still doing in my house? Get out of my house. And I'm like, oh, dude, my bad, I'm sorry. You know, but just moments like that with Danny, you know, and his Mustang, with energy drinks. You know, he'd call me Big Carnal, you know, and his little squeaky voice. But, you know, Danny had a huge impact upon my life, you know, in the latter years after I got married. You know, we kind of disconnected per se, but the last conversation I had with Danny, I'll never forget. He kind of just shared with me where he was at, invited me to go get an energy drink like always, and I'm glad that I touched base with him, kind of caught up, you know, my life, his life, where he was at, where I was at in life and in our walk with Jesus. And my only comfort is that Danny came back to God, and that I'm gonna see him one day. And if Chief and Letty, you know, once you take a look at this, you guys did a beautiful job raising Danny. He wasn't perfect, but man, everything he had, his heart, his passion, and his love for people is because of you. And I love you, and I pray for you guys. And Danny, I'll never forget you, man. I love you, bro.
Well, I won't take too much of your guys' time because I would have too many stories to tell. But I will forever miss cookies, cuddles, and cariños at your guys' house, and Danny chanting that as well. Love you guys.
Danny, I thank you for the beautiful times that you have spent with our family, and you loving Brianna unconditionally. My heart rested as a mom knowing that I knew that you loved her, Danny, and I'm just so grateful for the time that you were here with us on this earth, and I know that you're in a much better place now, and we want to be selfish and have you here with us, but we know that it was your time, and I'm just forever grateful to you and to your family for loving Bree and accepting her. And I thank you. And I will forever, eternally be grateful to you and your parents and your family for just the time that you've given us. And we will forever love you. And I know my Bree will forever, ever have you in her heart. And I thank you, Danny. Thank you.
Like living with Danny in the brother's house and in my house and in the apartment too, it was just made up of just a bunch of moments, you know. Whether it's times of just, I mean, we can get together and laugh about anything, you know. And when you live together or you spend a lot of time with someone, you kind of get like the same what's it called, that sense of humor. So like, even to this day, I'll see something, or I'll think of something, or I'll think to myself, you know, like, man, I need to tell Danny about that, or man, you know, if Danny was here, he'd be cracking up right now, because Danny was just such a part of my life, you know, even though we didn't see each other all the time, but just living together, it was just a cool thing to just, you know, to have a guy like that you could laugh with and have fun with. But there was moments, you know, plenty of moments, you know. One thing about Danny is I could say he was a genuine disciple, you know. You walk in his bedroom, he's right there in his chonies, you know, reading a book or reading some book about the Bible or something, or studying the Word or writing a sermon, and or, you know, there's times I was in my bedroom across the house, and I could hear him praying, you know, getting a hold of God. And it wasn't just, you know, like token prayers that we're all guilty of, but, you know, there's times when I could see in his life he was really getting a hold of God, because he was really pressing in for whatever reason, whatever he might have been going through at that time. And, you know, he was just a real genuine guy, man. And on top of that, there was plenty of times of rebuking, you know, plenty of times of correcting him, kind of, because he was like a little brother to a lot of us, you know, like he was like 19 when I met him, and I was already in my 20s. But one thing I could say, and I'm not just saying this just to say it, is he was a real huge blessing, man. You know, there was times when I was really encouraged, because I would see his walk with God, you know. Even though I was the one that was older, serving God longer, and maybe he could say that about me at times too, but yeah, those times when he really encouraged me when I looked at his life. And, you know, whether he may have strayed away from God and then, you know, came back, I mean, that's all just part of that part of his life, of just being a disciple, you know, knowing that when, you know, things go south, you know, knowing what you need to do to just see God. And sometimes it would have kind of just amazed me, because there was times when I would look at him and I would think to myself, like, sometimes I'm not even that person, you know. It was really encouraging. But yeah, it was just a huge blessing. I don't want to keep it too long, but you know, he did make an impact on my life. He was like a younger brother that I never had before. And I just want to thank God for his life, and praise God.
Hi Herman, hi Letty. I hope you guys are doing well. I just want to say thank you for raising, you know, such a wonderful son. And Danny, when I first met Danny, and he brought me by your guys' house, you guys embraced me. This was before Brianna. You guys embraced me like if I was part of the family, and I'm just so thankful to be a part of you guys' family, and just to know Danny for the years I did. When I first met Danny, it was here at church. I'll never forget. It was in the fellowship hall. He came up to me, and we were starting a conversation. I was in 8th grade at the time. I was young, and Danny was older, but he always had the time to reach out to me, have a conversation with me. Me and Danny started hanging out. We started going out to eat. Danny always took me out. After school, he would pick me up. We would go play pool. We would do a lot of awesome things. And it was crazy because I was so young and he was so old and mature, but he always, you know, acted like if I was, you know, important to him. And that just shows that you guys did just such an awesome job with such having a loving and caring son, and I couldn't thank you enough, you know, for him. One story that sticks out to my mind. So me and Danny were best friends. You know, Danny took me to a Prescott for a conference. We did everything together. He introduced me to you guys, to his family. But one memory I do have, when me and Danny were best friends at the time, I asked him, so I knew he was going around my house a lot more, and he was hanging around my family a lot more, and I became jealous, because I was like, Danny, you're my best friend. Like, no, like I always wanted to hang out with him because we did fun stuff, and we drank energy drinks, We played volleyball. I even laughed like Danny. That's how much Danny had an effect on me. So I asked Danny, hey, I noticed that you're hanging around my family a lot more, and he was like, he knew where I was going with it. I told him in the car, and he just started laughing before I even asked the question. I said, Danny, do you like my sister? Is this true? And oh my gosh, so he was like, he just started laughing and smiling. He was driving, and he looks at me and says, whatever the Lord wants. So he said some smart comment like that, and he's like, is that okay with you? And it took me a little bit. I was like, of course. I told him, I think you're a great person. Just, make sure you just tell him be careful. It was so long ago, but just having that conversation with him, and I'm not gonna lie, I was jealous because my best friend, we went from being my best friend to my sister's soulmate, and but that's just God's will. That's what God does. He puts people in certain positions, and it leads them to where they could be. So I'm glad everything turned out the way it did, because Danny, he spent so much beautiful memories with everyone, with all of us, with my family, all of us together, with Brianna. I'm so glad that Brianna and Danny were able to spend, these last few months. They've been traveling a lot, and I believe it was God gave them these past 3 months traveling to leave Brianna with Danny in his mind, saying, hey, you guys had this amazing last 3 months. I gave you my son, Brianna, for this time, but I need him back. So just God is so awesome and beautiful the way it works, because Danny and Brianna were so happy. They were doing so well, but at the end of the day, God needed his angel. And I just thank God so much that he had such a great effect on each and every one of us. I can sit here and tell so many stories. He just had such a great impact in my life. He believed in me before I believed in myself. He always told me, and Joe as well, they always try to get me to have a sales job. And this is where I'm so successful in my career right now, because of Joe and Danny. I wasn't a confident individual before I met Danny or Joe. They inserted that skill in me, and they believed in me, and that motivated me and drove me to become a better person day by day. And at the end of the day, it reflects towards the parents. So big thank you to you guys. You already know the well in the family. We're definitely here for you guys. We love you. We're family for life. We're family for life. And one day we will see. We'll all see Danny in heaven. Until then, we just gotta stay strong, love each other, encourage each other, pray for each other, and we gotta make sure that the family stays united. Thank you so much, Letty. And Chief Herman, for everything you've done. I love you guys so much.
I first met Emrah when he was just a baby. My family was living in Turkey, and you guys used our house, kind of like put your pictures on the wall and kind of made it your own. And I had to go spend the day at the neighbor's house, kind of stay out of the way. But I remember your dad would hold Emrah and ask him how he liked his coffee. He'd say, "Boy, how you like your coffee?" And Emrah would just his face would melt, and he'd just start crying, and we had good fun with that. Not too much, but we had good fun with that. But I always kind of considered Herman and Letitia like an aunt and uncle. They were family. We went and visited you guys in Spain and had a good time there. And I remember you coming over to Turkey all the time and sleeping on our couch and cooking enchiladas and just having a good time. And I came back. The Air Force took our families in separate ways for quite a while. And when I got the opportunity to move to Phoenix, the military, one of the things I was most excited about was getting a chance to come see, Uncle Herman and Aunt Letitia again, and Joey and the family. The first time I came down to visit, Emrah had just graduated from the Marine Corps in San Diego, and he came in, and I just remember thinking how tall he got. I was really proud of him. Marine Corps is not easy. They're tough, and from everything I've heard and seen, he not only survived it, he thrived. And just wanted to let you guys know that I'm proud of him and that I'm gonna miss him.
I met Emrah a while ago. I came to visit Uncle Harmon and Aunt Letitia in Arizona for the first time, and he just treated me like a older little sister, like my older brother, teasing me, messing around. He'd come home from work and he'd go out to do jiu-jitsu or whatever, and he's like, hey, could you do my laundry while I'm gone? He'd come back and be like, hey, can you make me a sandwich? And somehow I was like, okay, sure. And a couple times he'd come home from work and he'd go upstairs to shower. I'd be sitting on the couch downstairs and I'd hear this weird noise coming from upstairs, and I'd go up there and he'd be belting it in the shower, just random songs, just it was really funny. But I'm definitely gonna miss him. It's gonna be different coming back to Tucson without him there. But he'll always be in my heart.
So I've known Danny, year-wise, I guess I don't really know, but I've always seen him at church. But it was when it got a little bit closer just last year, because I got close to Bobby, and wherever Bobby was, Danny was, whenever he was in town. They were like brothers. But I just remember Danny just having such a... At one point I was like, dude, this guy is obnoxious, but he was just fun, and he didn't care what anyone thought, what anyone said. He would like jump up and woo, and he would say all his crazy Spanish words that were not even Spanish words, and he would just be crazy, but he was always willing to do something fun. I remember one night we were at Mama's Pizza, and he was like, Mimi, do you want to go skydiving tomorrow? And I was like, what? Like, what is this? What? And I was like, yeah, dude, let's go. And we went. We had such a funny time. I'm sure Herman, you remember this. We were at that table with that guy, and he was just saying like all this craziness, and Danny was just looking at him like, oh, you're elite, bro? Yeah, la la, and just getting such a kick out of it. He was just always so funny. Like, everything he did, everything he said, just a big smile on his face. I'm really grateful for Danny's life. He wasn't in my life for a long period of time, but the time that he was in my life, he was such a blessing. And he means a lot to me because he meant a lot to Bobby. And I saw the role that Danny played in his life. And it was just like Pastor Alvin said earlier in the service, was that, or no, it was Mike that said in the service that God used him to just bring young people. Like, young people was his forte. Like, that was what God had sent him to do, and he did it so well, and he was such a good friend, and he loved on people, and I'm gonna miss that, but I know that he's rejoicing with our Savior in heaven, and he's smiling down on us. And I just want to encourage the family to just keep on serving Jesus, loving Jesus, and let us love you guys in this time of mourning and this season of difficulty. Just know that God sits on the throne still. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michael Tom. Came to church here back in 2011. I was able to meet Danny. Pastor Fred Ruby was able to introduce him to me, and right away, I just felt a connection there with Danny, just with his attitude, welcoming me in. From there, I believe he just looking back, I can remember him introducing me to some other guys in the church, letting him know who I was, where I came from, that I was going to start going to church here. And from there on, it just looking at him then until now, just seeing that welcoming spirit that he had on the side. Whether I wasn't talking, maybe sometimes I was be on the side looking around, and you could just see Danny on the side laughing, joking around, or just welcoming new converts, new people, and all that. And anywhere I will go, it's just seeing him. He will always have that smile on his face, always asking me how I'm doing. That's the one thing I always liked about him, is just having that kindness, the encouragement, all that, the love. Just checking on how I was doing, how my day was, how my weekend, and he always put a smile on my face. And I remember him meeting my parents maybe once or twice. I still remember who they were, and he would always ask me, "How's your parents doing?" Just stuff like that. It just kind of blew me away. Just having that relationship with me and with other brothers and with other people in the church. And that's one thing I'll miss from him, and I'm pretty sure that all of us here in this church, those that are not part of the church as well, will look back on him and want to carry on that relationship, having that friendship with other people. And also, like I said, we're going to miss him. And Herman and Leticia, I just want to thank you guys for being here as well, and just being the example you guys have been for him and for us young guys, young couples. And like I said, we're going to miss him. And it's been an honor for me just to know him for the last maybe 7 or 8 years, just having that friendship here, going away here and there. And like I said, we're going to miss him. So, see you, Danny.
One time, me and Danny and my family were at the fair, and he wanted me a stuffed animal, and I was being bad, and I was sitting in the stroller because I was really tiny, which I'm still tiny, but, and I was being very bad and rude to my sister, because I'm evil. So he wanted me the bear, and I was being bad, and then he still gave me the bear. It's weird. But Danny was the kind of person that was the nicest, funniest person that I've ever met. Well, besides the class clown in school, but otherwise funny. It's hard to know that Danny's gone, but my dad and my mom always tell me the body of the human is just that holds your soul. So Danny's soul isn't dead, it's still here with us. So
I knew Danny like kind of through Vision Unlimited, and that's like where I met him, and he kind of like, he was always involved and like there, and I mean I never talked to him too much when I was like starting off in like middle school or anything, but then like once I got to high school, he was like getting out of Vision, and then but he was always that guy who was always like kind of like pushed me. And I like around my junior year I started getting really serious with God, and I can honestly say, I mean I was on fire, but one of the leading factors were, I mean, just getting closer to God was Danny pushing me, and he pushed me and saying like, yo, I remember him specifically saying like, hey Chad, you're never gonna get this time back. And so I mean that kind of hit me really hard, that so I have to take advantage of the time that I do have with certain people in high school. And so that he was always one to motivate me to push and to be more. And I'd be like, yo, like I witnessed this guy today, and I prayed with him today, and he was just like, yo, like that's good. He pushed me to do that, and I was just like, he was like, but all right, like, did you witness to someone this week? And it was like the following week, and I was like, no, I didn't get to. And he was just like, well, he's like, Chad, you got to. And I was like, oh shoot, like, all right, cool, like. And so it's like motivating, and I mean, we would have those talks. He was that guy that would be, like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing tomorrow? And I was just like, I don't have anything planned. And he was like, all right, well, we're gonna go get breakfast. And I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, I'll pick you up. And I was like, well, cool. And I remember specifically one time it was me, Danny, and Julio. And I mean, I was the young guy, so they were telling me all these stories, and I was just, I really looked up to Danny. And just because he seemed really stable, and I mean, of course, everybody has their own like personal problems, but he didn't let it get to him. One word that I could really describe Danny is as he's a fighter, where he won't give up with. If there's something that he wants or he's like looking after, he's gonna go do it, or he's gonna go get it one way or another. And I thank you, and I'm gonna miss you, brother. And I love you, and you beat me to heaven. Love you, man.
One of my favorite moments is I remember Danny was telling me how he always wanted to join the Marines, but then he had a situation going on with his birth certificate being lost. So it was kind of cool because we were in the same boat because we were both waiting for so long. I remember he finally got it in, he finally got his birth certificate and he was able to join because that's what he needed to join. And I remember it was just kind of cool knowing like we kind of did it like together, even though we're different branches, but it was kind of cool that he didn't give up. So he has a very like persistent, like a drive, and he never gave up, and he was going after what he wanted. And then second silly one, he used to box at Boxing Inc. and he would come by Home Depot, which is where I work, and we had like a little toilet on display right by the pro desk because it was like our favorite. It was like our best toilet, and we had it just sitting right there. And Danny, not caring who saw or what he was doing, would grab the magazine that was sitting on the pro desk, and he would straight up just sit on the display toilet, like opening it up too, and like people walking by would think he's on the toilet at the store, but he didn't care. And he'd be like, "So guys, what's going on?" Or I was like, "Danny." But it's cool because he got to meet all my coworkers, and every time he came in after that, they knew him by his name. So it was just kind of cool because he can get along with anybody. Everyone loved him. But we love you, Danny, and I'm praying for you. Arias family, love you guys.
So I remember this one time over summer break, he came to my house and both my parents were away to work, so he went there to watch us. And the first thing he did when he got there was ask us to put the PlayStation out of my room into his room, into the living room, and to look for the COD DVD, which is Call of Duty. And we basically spent the whole entire afternoon looking around the house, looking for the COD DVD. We didn't find it as well. It was crazy. And then like he just wanted to play something else at the end of the day. I think we played I want to say Mortal Kombat.
Nice.
Mortal Kombat X. It was bloody and gory stuff. Uncle Danny, I miss you. I love you.
Make ready. Ready. Aim. Fire. Ready. Aim. Fire. Ready. Aim. Fire. Freeze and arm.
my breath. Well done, my child, enter in and rest. As tears of joy roll down my cheek, oh, it's beautiful beyond my wildest dreams. 'Cause I wanna run on greener pastures, I wanna dance on higher hills, I wanna drink from sweeter water in the misty morning dew. And my soul is getting restless for the place where I belong. I can't wait to join the angels and sing. And I wanna run on greener pastures, I wanna dance on higher hills, I wanna drink from sweeter water in the misty morning dew. And my soul is getting restless for the place where I belong. I can't wait to join the angels and sing. I can't wait to join the angels and sing. Oh, I can't wait to join the angels and sing. Oh, I can't wait to join the angels and sing. I can't wait to join the angels and sing my heaven song.